Cause little mama, yeah, yeah. Merry Christmas, little mama, yeah, yeah. Merry Christmas, little mama, Merry Christmas, little mama, Merry Christmas, little mama, Merry Christmas, little mama. All them gifts need gift wrap. Fireplace on kickback. Christmas dinner, you did that. Merry Christmas, little mama.
Recently, I've been reading a lot about China and their investments in Africa. And over the past 10 years, China has invested a lot of money into Africa. Like, they've been involved in countries like Nigeria and Angola, where they have a lot of oil there, and they've been building railway systems in different countries. They've been giving huge loans to certain African countries. And some people are saying that this is neo-colonialism almost. Like, China is trying to buy the influence and power of African countries just so they can have it for themselves, so they can grow as a country and as like a superpower. And I do get that, and I kind of agree with that in a sense. I feel like this is a dangerous step for Africa. And the reason why I'm saying this is not because it's not that countries shouldn't do business with each other, and it's not that I'm criticizing China because it's a big country that has billions and is just trying to see its country prosper. I'm not judging that, but at the end of the day, who's getting more out of these transactions? It's China. So when you have a Chinese company, whether it's public or private, and they build a railway in Ethiopia, for example, at the end of the day, the money is not going to go to the Ethiopian government. It's either going to go to the Chinese company or the Chinese government. Either way, it's Chinese money. So I feel like, as much as many African leaders are saying, no, we're building alliances, it's not anything negative, at the end of the day, things always go wrong. There's always a disagreement. There's always a war, underlying tension. There's always something that could leave you stranded, could leave you in a position you never expected. And I feel like China having such ownership and influence over infrastructure and such important things in Africa is slightly dangerous. Like, isn't it better for these African leaders to have more control over their own systems, over their own infrastructure? And I'm not going to deny the fact that Africa is not perfect, like, there is poverty there is exploitation there, and Africa does need help from nations. Like, there's no nation that could survive on its own without any international help, without any training or anything like that. But I just feel like the West even are taking advantage of Africa. Not even the West, but just other continents are just taking advantage of Africa. Like, they're seeing an opportunity. They're like, wow, Africa's excelling, their economy is growing, they have all these workers there, so many people we can use for our financial gain. Why not take advantage, kind of thing? And even Theresa May, when she decided to go to South Africa and do whatever dancing she decided to do, like, even by her going there during failing Brexit negotiations, whether or not she wanted to make it look this way, but she made it look as though, you know what, the Europe is not our friend anymore. Let's turn to Africa. Like, let's go back to a continent we've rejected for many years, just so that we can make sure we have enough money, kind of thing. And it's frustrating because I feel like Africa belongs to the people of Africa, right? Like, they're the ones living in the continent. They're the ones who have to put up with the governments. They're the ones working day in and day out to support their economy. And I feel like there's a certain ownership that these huge companies and huge countries are taking away from them. Like, they're not letting it be their own continent. They're not letting it be their own country, because as much as they're saying that we're providing jobs for you, which they are, they're also exploiting the people there. Like companies such as Apple they've been caught for exploiting workers in the DRC, exploiting children that are mining there. And I feel like now with China, like, people are saying that China is trying to make Africa their China, if that makes sense. So in a sense, a lot of Western countries use China for labor because they have so many workers. They kind of push all their labor there because they know it will be cheaper than having labor in Britain or the US, for example. So I feel like that's what China are trying to do for Africa. And it's slightly worrying because they've also put a military base in Djibouti. I think it's their first military base that's not in Asia, I think. And so just that the process of being like, we want to put our mark, make our mark here. Like, I understand why people are saying this is neo-colonialism, because isn't that what countries do when they want to make their mark on a country, when they want to have influence over a country? They'll invest, they'll put money in there, and they'll also put their military in there. And I feel like France does this too. Like, whether or not President Macron's intentions are good or not, like, that's besides the point. I feel like France, because obviously they had a strong colonial hold over Africa at one point, I feel like they keep their relations with Africa because they know Africa is a profitable continent. They know that. That's why whenever they can make sure they're in the limelight, like the public light, whenever they have a chance to be like, what, we're friends with Africa, we're supporting Africa, we are helping support education, helping women's rights. Whenever they find a chance to do that, to look like Africa's friends, they will take it. And I'm not necessarily saying that they shouldn't help Africa, but I'm saying that people need to be careful and they need to be like wary of who are we giving these opportunities to. Because if we're not even funding projects and companies that are homegrown, that are in Africa, then why should we be helping companies from China? Why should we help foreign people gain financially from what is ours, from what is our land, our people, our jobs? And I'm not trying to be like narrow-minded, saying like movement, immigration and international business is not good. I'm not saying that. It's just people need to understand that money is important. Like, it might just be a simple business transaction now, but let's say there was a disagreement between an African nation and China, and they're like, you know what, we're going to cut off all your railway systems. Like, but they have the power to do that because you've given them the power to do that. So I think it's up to leaders to just be cautious of that. But at the same time, they need the money. Like, they need this investment in order for other countries to kind of take them seriously. I feel like a lot of Western countries, like, for example, with China, obviously they think, oh yeah, these people, they're strange people, foreign people from the East. But as soon as they see them put their trillions on the table, they're like, wow, these guys mean business. So they're more likely to comply with them in terms of business and comply with them in terms of politics. So I feel like Africa, this financial growth, economic growth, is a good opportunity for them. Like, people are more likely to listen to you if you have more money. That's just a fact of business. So I guess it is helping Africa, but at the same time, I just feel like they need to be careful. And it's not even just Africa where they're like having their influence. Like, even in Argentina, they've set up some base somewhere to try and explore the dark side of the moon. That's what they're saying, but apparently some people think that there's more going on there, and they've had like influence over a lot of South Asia and stuff. And I guess it is just business. Like, what can you say? A lot of countries do it. It's not just China that is increasing their foreign investment. But it's funny how, like, I feel like with all countries, they feel like the grass is always greener kind of thing. Like, they'd rather invest in other places than invest in their own people, in the people that need it. I feel like that it happens everywhere. Like, even in Britain, we often talk about, oh yeah, our allies will do funding here, do funding there, but you're not even taking care of your own people. Those people that are suffering, the homeless people there that don't have any money, don't have anywhere to stay. You'd rather just look past them, kind of ignore them a bit. I feel like in life we just get bored of what we know. Like, we know there's homeless people in this country. We know that there's poor people in this country, but what about this new investment, or what about this new thing that we can accomplish, kind of thing. And with China, hopefully their intentions aren't bad, hopefully, but leaders, they just need to be careful. Like, they need to take care of their people. They need to understand that your people are your biggest investment, because at the end of the day, one day China's gonna leave. Like, and then what are you gonna do? How are you gonna how are you gonna survive without their infrastructure and their help? So I just feel like these countries, and they just need to be careful. So it's nearly Christmas, and I'm really excited, not just to be with my family, but just to rest, to relax, and whatever. To take time for myself, really. And one thing that I encouraged everyone to do this time of year is to just look back on the year you've had and to be proud of yourself. Whether or not it's been amazing, whether you've like achieved everything you wanted to achieve. Because I know for some people, this time of year is amazing for them. They've done so much by the time they get to December. They've achieved so much. It's a time to celebrate. But for some people, it can feel like you haven't gone anywhere, you haven't done anything, I haven't achieved anything, I haven't stepped out of my comfort zone once, blah, blah, blah. But either way, just getting to this point, you've survived. Like, I know mentally it can be challenging for a lot of people. There's a lot of things that they have to overcome within themselves just to keep surviving, just to see another day. So the fact that you've made it here, you should be proud of yourself. Whether or not you've done big things, small things, or nothing at all, you should still be proud of yourself. Yeah, so one thing I just want to encourage everyone to do is just to take time to talk to someone you haven't talked to in a while. Because I know often we get to this part of the year and we're like, you know what, forget everything that has happened in the past and moving forward. But there are some people that maybe you haven't talked to, and maybe they might need help, maybe they're lonely. Like, just check up on them, see how they're doing. And if it doesn't work out, then move on. Obviously, start a new year, start it fresh, but try and look out for people that maybe you haven't looked out for that much this year. And also, I encourage you to, if you see a homeless person, try and help them out. Like, especially in the UK, I don't know what is going on, but our homeless problem just keeps getting, our homelessness issue just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know if people are giving less, if people don't have time to be there for other people anymore. I don't know what it is, but it keeps getting worse and worse. And around this time of year, people can get so lonely and they can actually die just outside, just being in the cold. So yeah, apart from resting and relaxing, help someone out, talk to someone you haven't talked to in a while, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, little mama. Merry Christmas, little mama. All them gifts need give her up. Fireplace, some kick back. Christmas dinner, you get that. Merry Christmas, little mama.